The year is 2050. Laura, a postdoctoral researcher, is leaving the Arizona State University campus on a hot summer's evening. She climbs into her electric car and commands it to take her home. As the car pulls away, Laura calls her personal artificial intelligence. She has an idea that an ecological trend began in the early part of the century and hit the tipping point around 2025. Her AI makes some suggestions and then re-articulates the research question. She asks the AI to look for datasets to test her hypothesis, and it does. The AI finds 26,110 datasets. Of these, 94% from 2025 to 2050 have enough data and metadata for synthesis, but only 60% from 2015 to 2025 and 30% from 2000 to 2015. While Laura cruises home, her AI connects to the researchers whose datasets are not usable. As the car drives into her apartment complex, Laura gets some feedback. Apparently 30% of the data creators are able to provide additional metadata, but 50% of them complain that if I didn't provide this metadata the first 6 times my data manager asked, why would I now? The remaining 20% cannot help because they are dead. Frustrated, Laura decides to park the car herself. She switches to manual mode and proceeds to knock over several trash cans before running over a stray cat, clearly demonstrating why no one drives their own car anymore. If only all the data and metadata had been available to complete Laura's research, she would not have decided to drive her own car. And if she had not driven her own car, that stray cat would still be alive. With this sad outcome in mind, perhaps we should ask ourselves, do I want to be the reason that Laura runs over that cute little ginger tabby cat in 2050? Or should I perhaps go back and make sure that metadata file is complete? Oh, and while I'm at it, I'll run one last quality check on those data. Fast forward to 2100. Laura, Professor Emeritus, steps onto the balcony of her rainforest apartment. She is reflecting on a successful career, having worked all over the world as a social urban conservation ecologist before retiring to the tropics. Laura has a new hypothesis that an ecological trend began around 2025 and hit a tipping point around 2050. She shares this with her neural net, which makes suggestions and then re-articulates her research question. Laura thinks the neural net should look for datasets that can test her hypothesis, and it does. The neural net finds 780,340 datasets. Of these, 99.99% from 2075 to 2100 have sufficient data and metadata for synthesis, 98% from 2050 to 2075, and 92% from 2025 to 2050. While Laura pours a glass of wine, her neural net reaches out to the researchers whose datasets are less than perfect. 78% of the data creators provide extra information, but 2% of them complain that if I didn't provide this metadata the first 6 times my data manager asked, why would I now? The remaining 20% cannot help because they are dead. The good news is, Laura has enough data and her neural net goes to work. The results are startling. Between 2025 and 2050, severe disease vectors combined with global climate change cause a dramatic reduction in the worldwide felis catus population. Intelligent city monitoring networks discovered that a small proportion of the population showed resistance to both the diseases and temperature extremes. The sensors eventually tracked down what they thought was the Holy Grail, the one animal that appeared completely immune to these factors. Unfortunately, before conservation geneticists could capture the animal, it was run over by a car in an apartment parking lot. When they eventually recovered the decaying carcass from inside a dented trash can, the extreme heat of the Arizona urban heat island had destroyed any hope of cloning the animal. The death of Super Tabby, as he came to be known, was followed by a collapse of the cat population. This in turn led to an explosion of rodent numbers. Crop failures followed, along with collapses in many small mammal populations. Ecosystem imbalances have continued to this day, including the one Laura is studying. As this information sinks in, and Laura realises the part she played in the major ecological disaster of the century, her wine lies forgotten on the table. Finally, she stands up and throws herself off the balcony. If only all the data and metadata had been available to complete Laura's original research, she would not have decided to drive her own car. And if she had not driven her own car, Super Tabby would have survived long enough to be cloned. And the rest, as they say, will be history. With this sad outcome in mind, perhaps we should ask ourselves, do I want to be the reason that Laura throws herself from her apartment balcony in 2100? Or should I perhaps go back and make sure that metadata file is complete? Oh, and while I'm at it, I'll run one last quality check on those data.